emphasize some of what was said by our key speaker here, and I hope you noted. Apart from laying out all the various areas of cooperation that are already in existence between Kenya and Nigeria, he made a few points in his own diplomatic way about some of the areas you would need to improve. And I think those you need to pay attention to them. And I remember he made two key points, or three, but two key ones. One of them, he said, in real life negotiations, ministers do not engage in lengthy technical discussions. Those are done by technocrats. What he meant is that, and I'm now talking as somebody who has been a diplomat and negotiated for Kenya in many forums, is that there are negotiations behind the negotiations. Ministers come out and give policy direction. They state the policy of the country on that particular issue. They don't get into an enormous amount of details. The people who do all the work are the technocrats, and that means starting from the top, the permanent secretaries and others within a specific ministry. And not only are they the ones who do the research, prepare the documents, they are also the ones who carry out that other negotiation behind the negotiation. But of course, they are guided by those guidelines. And they already been told as technocrats, policy-wise, you don't cross this red line. So even as they are negotiating with their equals as technocrats, they know the red lines that they cannot cross. And I'm sure you know what red lines is, that you can do this and the other. And they always consult the minister. This is what the others are saying. Do we or do we not agree? But ministers seated as you are don't really, yes, you exchange this and the other. But the real negotiations either have already happened before this negotiation, or if you reach a stalemate, it will go back to the same technical team to do some further negotiation, where you are close even to signing some kind of, a treaty or whatever the document is that is binding to the two parties, or some kind of MOU, or when you really are not so sure, at least you have a declaration or a resolution, which you have both parties have agreed upon, that you have agreed on the broad areas here, and you co-sign that document. But you don't just walk into negotiation and you just have this, talk which ends up, open-ended. Otherwise, you have been a total waste of time. Even if the outcome is to simply say, we have reached a stalemate, there has to be some outcome. That is known. Like it's already emerging from the WTO talks, where they are the ministers are there. That's a ministerial. It's like you now. That's why I call it a ministerial. The ministers. There have been so many negotiations in Geneva. That's what ambassadors do every day. And I can tell you, I used to sit in Geneva at the WTO. You are the ones preparing the documents, burning the midnight oil, and our ministers had nothing to do with that. They came, for the ministerial like this one, and we are the ones to give them the brief about where we had reached, where the things are at, how we have agreed with our own group of countries, like the Africa group now. If you go to the WTO, there is an Africa group, there is, these Europeans, they have their own groups, and there are myriad groups. And of course, bilaterally, there are countries that are hanging together on certain issues. Like those countries from West Africa, some of them have their own cotton group because they have the issue of cotton. But these are ministers. The real negotiations already happened in Geneva. And that's why you had them make some very conclusive statements, like, we will not agree on this issue. You heard them say that. And it was captured by the papers. You saw it. Or you have not been following. As students of diplomacy, you should be interested. This is part of what you are doing here. They are engaged in diplomacy, except not within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs context, but also in matters of trade. So that part, they will have to come with some kind of agreement. They can't just walk away. Even if it means we have not agreed on this, but we have agreed that the next, the way forward is 1, 2, 3. That's also an agreement. But you don't just leave it open-ended. Something has to come out of that exercise. So since you still have today and tomorrow to watch the WTO events, and you can also look at the back papers, you'll see the progression since they met here in Nairobi. They started, you noticed, before the main meeting started, there were other group sessions which were being held. Those were negotiating forums before the actual ministerial starts. So I just wanted to clarify that because maybe you didn't quite understand what he meant when he said, one, ministers do not really do all the negotiation. It is done by other parties. And two, you must come up with some kind of agreement. The other thing that you may have gathered when he was rolling out all those many areas of cooperation that exist between Nigeria and Kenya, he was also indirectly telling you, you need to do more research, that your research is inadequate on this, on the bilateral situation between Kenya and Nigeria. Of course, he's a diplomat. He cannot tell you, he had to tell you several times of how well you did. But me, I'm your director, so I can tell you what he meant. So, and I'm sure I'll be forgiven for being very direct about that. But you are on a learning path. So that's completely in order. You are not supposed to know everything. That's why you are here. So he was saying, you need, if you are a real diplomat, you really need to do very thorough research so that you don't start saying a country has 30 million people and it has 100 million people. You look people look at you and they say, and you are negotiating for your country, and you are saying these kinds of things. So that's another area that, you need also to keep in mind as you go through this. But I have to tell you overall, I like the level of confidence, and I agree with him. Your simulation negotiation look very real. You have made them very real. You seem to have taken this very seriously in the sense that you are almost, fighting as if you are fighting for Nigeria. And Kenya, like if you are real ministers. That's the way to go, because it's also training for you to be real negotiators. Negotiating out there is tough work. It's not the way you people are talking here. Sometimes people say very unpleasant things to one another. They can be very tough. So you have to really take a very clear negotiating position, not to be completely overrun by the other party. And diplomacy is the art of persuasion. So you have to make sure that your persuasion art is even better than your adversary. Because you may end up actually agreeing with your adversary and giving too many concessions when you shouldn't. So that too has to be borne in mind. So as we go through this, Martin, let's be looking out for those things and others. Like I said, you have my colleagues here. At the end of this morning session, if I'm not back, they'll comment overall and tell you some of the areas perhaps you should have looked at that you perhaps, because of time, you didn't have time to do it, or perhaps you could do better in future. But generally speaking, I think you did a very commendable job, and I want to congratulate the two delegations of So allow me to go and sort out what needs to be sorted out for tomorrow, and possible I'll join you as soon as is possible. Martin.
Thank you, Director. Now, without having to repeat myself and the others, we are pressed with time. Said we are running almost 2 hours behind. Our program says that each of the sessions will take 1 hour. I want to cut that to 45 minutes. Within 45 minutes, you can do it. Because, like the director has said, and the minister said, the real issues are discussed at the senior officials level. That's where the actual negotiations take place. And you've already done that. And so here, we are only agreeing on the areas that have been agreed on by the senior officials. So, and the areas of disagreement, they can come out. Fine? So, I see 7 people per side. That's 14 times 3. That's almost 42. So 45 minutes is enough. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate members. I think we are going to comply with the procedure. I would like to actually first inform the delegates that I'm both standing for the Foreign Affairs Minister for Kenya, who is actually out of another function. At the same time, I'll also actually take the responsibility to still double on my previous responsibility as the Minister for Immigration and Refugees. So, let me take this opportunity to actually welcome the delegates, both from Germany and from Kenya, on this bilateral talk on the enhancements of the relationship between the two countries. My name's Samuel Njura, as I've said, the Minister for Foreign Affairs. Now, let me take this opportunity actually to introduce the delegates from the Kenyan side, and then maybe after that I will also give an opportunity of the Minister of Germany to introduce the delegates from the German side. Now, on the Kenyan side delegates, we have a number of representatives representing various ministries, and the first delegate is the Minister for Trade and Commerce, who is Her Excellency Obora Beverly. And the second delegate is the Minister for Internal Security, Her Excellency June Nzioka. And the third delegate from Kenya is the Minister for Environment, His Excellency Manyi Wilfred. We also have a fourth delegate, Minister for Labor and Employment, Her Excellency Kashinoa Naipoa. And then we also have Minister for Education, His Excellency Mapesa Wilson. And then lastly, we have the Minister for Immigration and Refugee Affairs, who is Samuel Njura, who is also doubling as the Foreign Affairs Minister now. Now, I think I would take this opportunity to give a small introductory note on maybe regarding maybe the position of Kenya, and maybe welcome the delegate from the German side. Let me start by saying that the Kenyan delegates in this bilateral talk, who are also very important representatives of their countries, may reiterate as well as myself what is already known, that Kenya has enjoyed a cordial relationship between itself and Germany for at least a long period since the independence of 1964. And actually a number of aspects have formed the relationship bond between Kenya and the government of Germany. These aspects ranges from environment conservation, issues of immigration, higher education, labor employment, and other cultural issues. But even though Kenya and Germany has enjoyed these bilateral relationships on a number of issues, we cannot fail to recognize that we are living in a globalized society moving very fast, and also associated with a number of social dynamics. And these dynamics, delegates, as you can also compare with me, touches on a number of key events, such as a new form of security threats, conflicts, expansion of immigrations, which is not easy actually to control. Now, delegates, you can also confirm that A number of changes has also taken place within the globalization and the regional integration trends, which touches on critical issues of immigration or bilateral sensible issues. There are also some other issues like the labor and the technology, and the other issues like the cross movements, movements across the borders by the populations of the two different countries. Now, these are issues that always generate a greater impact on the general human development as national states, state interest. And I hope that as we actually converge here today as the right representatives of our states, we are actually destined to deliver on the common positions of the states' interests, such as on these issues to do with security, trade, refugee, and education matters. And as well as may be agreed with my partner head of the delegation of the Germany, on the other side, this bilateral negotiation will follow the standard procedure of diplomatic behavior, which will actually guide the conduct of the meeting. Now, with that, may I now invite the head of the delegation of the Germany to actually introduce his delegates, so that maybe we can now actually hear from individual ministers, maybe the positions they are trying to push on for the negotiation on this bilateral talk. Thanks very much. Welcome the head of delegate to the German government. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Juanita Nangila, and I'm the Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation for Germany. Let me also state that I'll be standing in for the Minister of Internal Affairs and Security. I'd like to introduce the team of delegation I've come with. I have Minister for Trade and Commerce, Howie Bildad, Minister for Immigration and Refugee Affairs, Adhiambo Gloria, Minister for Labor and Employment, Maureen Kidheka, Minister for Education, Mary Omanga. Also, Gloria Adhiambo will be standing in for the Minister for Environment. She could not be with us today. Concerning today's negotiation, I'd like to state that Germany was the first country to officially recognize Kenya's independence in 1963, and the two countries have since enjoyed warm relations. As you all know, there are many pressing things going on in the world right now, and our schedules are constantly changing as a result. So today in this negotiation, my country is committed to strengthening economic ties between Kenya and Germany. Kenya's economic potential has huge prospects for German companies, and in bid to capitalize on this fact, we are willing to work on enhancing development cooperation in the security, labor and employment, renewable energy, education, immigration and refugee affairs, which provide opportunities for business and investments. We express hope that the cordial relationship will be strengthened to benefit the citizens of both countries.
Thanks very much, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the government of Germany. I think we actually now need to open the discussion between the two countries, and actually, I think, as I told you, that I also double as the Minister for Immigration. I think I would like to take this opportunity to actually first outline the positions of maybe the Kenyan or maybe the issues that we think we should actually create a bilateral understanding with Germany, so that actually when I give microphone to the rest of the delegates, I think I'll not actually come back to myself again. And the position of Kenya, after actually outlining the critical issues on our Kenyan ground with regards to immigration and the refugees, we are actually in a position whereby we need to make tough decisions as the government. And I think Germany is also a critical stakeholder in actually on the issues of the refugees and immigration in Kenya, since Germany is a critical stakeholder in EU, and the EU policy with the immigration and refugees is very critical. So I think we need to make our position clear. And in our, as Kenya, regarding the position of immigration and refugees, these are the things that we believe, or we think that we can actually create a common understanding with Germany. We consider that we would actually like to make a repatriation of the Somali refugees back to Somali, because actually now their government is trying to come up, and at least I think the government is in a position to take care of its own people. And this is because actually we have realized that the issue of the influx of the refugees in Kenya is actually creating a multiplication of the conflict issues, which is actually being generated by the complex matter of how the refugees are coming in, because there is a lot of issues like infiltration of the Al-Shabaab, the ISIS, and other criminals actually finding their way through through this mechanism of actually refugees flowing into Kenya. So our position as the Kenyan government is to actually repatriate these people back. And the second position regarding this matter is that Germany is a critical stakeholder in the issue of migration. Germany, rather, issue of immigration and refugees in Kenya, since it is one of our key funders, it is one of our key partners who are actually funding Kenya government on taking care of the refugees. And on this matter, we also actually making an understanding with Germany so that they accept this, so that they can also actually use the resources they have to take care of the refugees when they are back in the Somali. Or if that is not the case, then because the issue is coming complex, Germany would like to would like Germany to take maybe a serious position whereby they can even double their budget on taking care of the refugees here, so that the extra budget can be used for taking care of the security concerns that is actually disturbing Kenya around this issue. Then we also have another matter regarding the visa renewal of the students studying in Germany. I think we have had a number of cases where there is a number of complaints, students studying there. When it comes to visa renewal, there is a lot of complications, and actually some of them are completing their undergraduate degrees and move on to masters. And we always realize from our Kenyan side that the renewal of the visas always become a complication. So I think German will also actually be in a position to understand that actually these mechanisms should also be enhanced in a way that our students can study freely until they complete their term in their country. And then the last one is we actually have another issue, because Germany, maybe around sometimes back, they had issued a warning for their a travel ban on their citizens not to come to Kenya, to visit Kenya because of the security reasons. And I think we, on the other side of Kenya, we have tried our best to actually uplift the security matters, and we are well taking care of the tourists which are coming to Kenya. And as you well know that tourism is one of the key contributors to the Kenyan economy, and if German insist on not actually uplifting this ban on their tourism who are supposed to be visiting Kenya freely, then I think the economy of Kenya will continue to get hurt. And for that reason, we also like them to make actually an understanding that is which actually conforms to the interest of the Kenya. So those are actually the four positions which I think we are also trying to advance on the German position, so that maybe we can see on what they can do about that. Let me take this opportunity to give the delegate of the minister for the same docket on the German side to maybe see how maybe the government of the German is also responding to this position.
The chair, all protocols observed. I would like to thank you for this opportunity. First and foremost, from the issues you raised, the issue of repatriation of refugees. I think it's it's a very serious issue, and we as the people of Germany, we believe that the refugees should not be repatriated to their countries simply because it's like violating their human rights. And we've had a program in place through our development cooperation program known as GIZ. We have a program in place whereby we are trying to strengthen peaceful conflict transformation around the Dadaab refugee camp and the Kakuma camp in Kenya. The project in question is aimed at promoting agricultural production, providing training measures to strengthen self-sufficiency of the refugees and the locals, developing and equipping schools for children and the young people in the camps, promoting healthcare, and promoting reforestation and firewood distribution. I believe the influx of refugees has brought about infiltration of Al-Shabaab and the Al-Qaeda, but it's my belief that this can be quashed by providing sustainable development to the refugees so that we can keep them busy, instead of having them engaging in other atrocities. It's better to keep them confined and making themselves useful. The second issue of visa renewal, we recently passed a new immigration law, and we have a committee that is looking at visa renewal for students, people who come on scholarships, skilled laborers, among others. And in due course, we are going to share the right information with you. Last but not least, on the travel bans, security for our citizens is very paramount, and I believe that you have put in place proper measures to tackle the issue of insecurity. And as you already know, we have talks ongoing on the side on issues of lifting travel bans, and by the end of the year, I'm hoping Kenya will be expecting more tourists from Germany. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister from Germany. Now let me take this opportunity now to actually call upon the delegate member on the Kenyan side, who is the Minister for Trade and Commerce, and maybe try to tell us the position of the Kenya, what they are actually advancing in terms of trade and commerce with Germany. That is Her Excellency Obora Beverly.
Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to put my stand on two specific areas, which is agriculture and tourism. Agriculture is central to Kenya's export industry, as it accounts for close to 8.24 billion. That is on the year 2011 to 2012. The horticultural products such as tea and coffee are in abundance, and therefore subsidies are needed from Germany in order to grow both the quantity of the goods exported as well as the revenue on our part. That will also help in stabilizing balance of trade on both accounts so that it benefits not just Kenya, but Germany in equal measure. Tourism is an industry that is distinctively known to Kenya. Therefore, our wildlife needs to be preserved. Germany is Kenya's third largest source of tourism as of the year 2012 and 2011. There are structures that are being put in place to revise the service fees at the service gate charges at the parks, which have been noticed to be very high. There is also need for measures to be put in place so that security can be beefed up, which will also help in destabilizing the travel advisories that have been imposed on Kenya. For these effective measures, we hope that we'll work together with the Germans in order to secure our borders and our citizens and ensure that we preserve the rich resources in Kenya. Thank you.
Thanks, the honorable member. Let us actually get to the position of a delegate member from Germany on the sector of trade and commerce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, let me just get to the point. For one, Germany's interests in Kenya have been wide and varied, and this includes exploits in machinery, chemical and pharmaceutical products, solar and wind technology, and German cars. Now, Germany seeks to expand trade volume between the two countries and to create a bilateral relation where both nations can fully exploit their respective economic potentials. To strengthen trade, however, some areas of interest need attention. For one, is trade facilitation. Germany currently pursues the Common Commercial Policy, CCP, which is the external trade policy of the European Union. The CCP has granted third world countries, when it comes to the issue of subsidies, trade preferences such as the Generalized System of Preferences, GSP, making it easier for Kenya to export its products into Germany. Germany is thus advocating for a similar approach in order to limit safeguard measures. This will go on to expand into World Trade Organization's need for trade liberalization, and it will increase Germany's export from the current 316.9 million euros, and it also see a rise in machinery imported to Kenya, which has been on the decline. The second issue is the procurement of tenders. As a developing nation, Kenya is seeking partners to help facilitate its economic growth. Germany has in the past and still provides Kenya with grants and low-interest loans through the German Agency for Technical Cooperation and Development Loan Cooperation. This has gone a long way to promote various programs towards rural development, agriculture, health, and development. With Kenya initiating major projects such as standard gauge railway, oil exploration in the north, titanium mining at its coast and general construction, Germany, being the largest European economy, has both the expertise and funds that can go into development of such projects. One can only look at the Autobahn and its speed trains to form a good opinion regarding competence. This can be made possible only if German companies are awarded contracts to do so. The third issue regards customs clearance. Germany is concerned with the general movement of its exports to their intended destination. The Kenyan government therefore should digitalize and upgrade the systems to ensure efficiency at its ports and to curb on corruption by maintaining untraceable data of goods moving in and out. Germany can assist in this effort by providing the necessary equipment, being computers and trackers on containers. This should be an ongoing initiative, and the German government hopes that the period of 2015-2016 will see a positive result in the outcome of this suggestion. The fourth issue is security. Germany would like to see an increase in its sales in security apparatus to be used by the Kenyan police, border guard, coast guard, prison service, customs, special task forces, and fire departments. In this age of terrorism, it is only prudent for each state to be fully equipped in the handling of counterterrorism. Kenya has not been immune to such attacks, as witnessed by the Westgate Mall siege and attacks on Garissa University. Germany, through the Expo Pavilion at SecPro Tech East Africa, offers a trade fair for security and protection through which government agents have the opportunity to gauge up to date German equipment. The fifth issue is tourism. Germany was one of the countries, actually, that did not impose travel advisories on its citizens when Kenya was facing security challenges, because we recognize the fact that terrorism is a global threat and not a localized one. German tourists also make up one of the largest groups to the country, and they generate further income to the government through taxation. The German government appreciates this, but it also plans a deeper bilateral commitment. Given flights to Kenya by German carrier Lufthansa, it will be in the best interest of the two countries to forge a waiver on weight capacity of passengers such that they will be able to carry into and out of Kenya goods worth value. A relaxation of taxes towards German citizens will also be welcome. The last issue is health and cosmetics. Germany recognizes the fact that Kenya is a developing country and it faces the normal shortages in public health. This is compounded by the division of the country into counties, meaning that each county requires almost similar approach in matters capacity. German companies therefore offer the latest health equipment, and German can supply all the 47 counties with the right equipment. The Kenya government should therefore invest in its health sector. The German cosmetic industry is one of the most developed in the world, and through these negotiations, it is hoped that the Kenya government will facilitate workshops in conjunction with the delegation of German industry and commerce in Kenya to promote its cosmetic products in the country. Thank you.
Thanks, delegate from Germany. Let us actually get